Hi, it's Dave, and today we're going to be talking about stencils and masks and how to create a finished piece once you've done with all these steps on your gel plate. We're going to get right to it, and I'll explain things as we go along. So, here we go. Okay, this is going to be a multi-step process. I'm going to have some slides that are going to be going so you can read along as we go. So we're going to be creating masks and stencils in order to come up with a final piece that is cohesive. So this is basically what we're going to be doing is creating a mask from scratch. I'm hoping to put it step by step so it's easy to follow along and easy to remember. We're going to be using paper or cardstock. It's your choice. So the supplies you're going to need is going to be a gel plate, an acrylic paints, a brayer, a pencil to draw with, cardstock or paper, and a craft knife or an X-Acto plate, blade, or scissors. Step one, you really want to keep this simple. Don't want to create something that's so complex that it makes it hard to make the print. So I'm going to be dealing with a 3-step or a 3 stencil, not including the background, 3 stencil piece. So I'm going to get started, and I'm going to try to keep it simple. Okay, once you finished with your drawing, and I didn't do my drawing in front of you. In fact, I used Photoshop to separate everything out. But I'm going to show you as if I had done a drawing. So my piece that I started out with was this. It's kind of hard to see. I'm going to put the original image up here. But I have some trees in the foreground, a mountain, a moon, and an ombre background. So the number of stencils I'm going to need are the foreground, the trees, the mountain, and the background, and the moon, then the background. So there's going to be 1, 2, 3 stencils. Now, once you've got your painting or what you're drawing that you're going to be working from, you're going to need to go through and decide what elements are going to be with each layer. With a multi-layered or multi-piece that you're going to, if you're going to go that route, you're going to need to label each one of those elements as layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. And I'm going to go through that. Layer 1, it's going to be the foremost, or what's in front of your image. In my case, it's the trees. I'm going to put this aside for just now. And I have my trees already printed out for me. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make copies. Make sure after you've got all your images, make sure you make copies of that. You're going to need a copy for each piece that you're going to, with each layer you're going to be working on, so you can keep track of each one of the elements that you're going to have. In my case, there's the trees, and basically I'm going to treat this as 1. So for this stencil, and what I'm going to do is, now that I have the image and it's copied, I'm going to carefully cut out this image. There's a lot of detail here, and I may not get all of it exact, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my X-Acto blades. Got to keep in mind where the perspective is. You want what you're going to start working with, whatever it is that's closest to you. I've got my X-Acto blade, and I'm going to start working with this. Let me see here. I'm going to take a real slow. I'm just going to cut it along the edge. Very important when you do this to label each one of your layers. This is number 1, my layer 1. So I'm gonna put a 1 on it so I can remember which order what. I cut this out. I learned a lesson here. This was way too detailed because it took forever. I actually had to pull out my gyro cutter to get it done. But you know, this is just make it simple, and you won't have that issue. So that's layer number one. Looking at here, there's layer one. It's kind of hard to see in there because it's dark. Next layer, layer number two, is going to be my mountains. These should be a lot easier to cut out. Layer number two, and finally layer number three. Ignore the black background. It's the moon, and that's layer three. And then once all that's done, then I'm going to make my ombre for the last step. So 1, 2, and then 3. I'm going to cut these out. I'm going to take this off camera like I did the first one, and I'll show you afterwards. There you are. You got the trees, the mountain, which was tons easier to cut out, and finally the moon. So 3 parts and the background. So we are good to go. So let me get this together, and we'll start the next process. I pulled up my 5x7 gel plate. You can use whatever size you'd like. I'm going to put underneath my image the original piece. And what I did is I put this on glass so I could move it more, move it easily. Now that gives me something to look at to place the elements. So it's easy enough to do. Now I can see my trees there. Now I'm going to take. You can do this by eye. Quite honestly, that's the reason I have it underneath. You can easily just line up your trees or line up whatever first element it is and do the print from there. I'm going to take it a little differently. I'm going to use that's my registration. It's a mini registration from Gel Arts. And that'll allow me to line it up perfectly each time. So there's our first layer. Because it's going to be closest to us. If you've ever looked at mountains, you're going to see that whatever is closest to you is darkest. And as you go further, it gets lighter and lighter. That's due to the atmosphere and the way things are as far as distance and the curvature of the earth and whatever. And I've got my image down. I've got my black in hand. And I'm just going to roll this out using my little 4-inch roller. Now stencil 1 is finished. And there we go. You can see the trees in the foreground. Next step is going to be our mountain. Line it up with our mountain on the page. And I'm seeing this is not really lining up, so I'm going to drop that. And I'm going to just do it the way I have you guys doing it. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay, we're going to start with a little bit of Payne's Gray. And what you don't see me doing is I'm putting it over on I've got a side gel plate over here. And because this is very small, I don't want to waste a lot of paint on it. So I'm using it as a roll-off and a mix. Let's see. May want to lighten this up just a little bit. So that makes it nice, because if I put it directly down, it would probably be more difficult to fix this. So what I'm going to do, I've got some zinc white over here. I'm going to add like that most minuscule amount just to lighten this up just a little bit. Intended 1 drop, got 2. Okay, we're going to go through and just do our mount. pretty good coverage there. And I can pull this mask. You can see the mountain. You can see the mountain on my print. Now, finally, one we have is our moon up top. Now on to stencil 3. Line up with my moon. I think I'll go with a little parchment because this is just an itty bit. Okay, that's down. Pull the print. There we have our moon. Now, I've got all my elements down, and all that's left, now that we're all the way through all of our stencils, we'll let them dry, let them sit for just a second. Make sure that we are lined. And we've repeated the process now 3 times. I've got all my stenciling work done. Now I just need to create the ombre effect underneath. And let's see, because we're going to say this is after dark. This is going to be our twilight. So let's start with some twilight colors. I think right here at the horizon line, I like an orange. Maybe a dab of yellow right here. Just a shadow. Tad bit of blue. Do I have a darkish blue? Let's just try a little bit. This is Prussian blue. Oh, let's see here. Got some twilight up there. Let's go to a darker color. We'll make it because it's going to mix here. I'm going to make it the Payne's gray, which may be just a little too close to the mountains, but we'll see. And finally, let's get a tad bit of black up there. Okay, my ombre is down. I'll let this dry completely, and then I'm going to put down a pole later and get this thing up. And I'm pulling with purple, just because I think it'll probably go and give me a nice background, because some of this is going to show through. I want to have enough paint down to allow the pole to happen. So maybe it's just a little bit more purple down, just to make sure we've got enough there. Grab my registration tool. I've got my paper that I'm going to print on. And we'll go over it. This is a Baron. You don't have to have one to be able to do this. You can do it with your hand. In fact, I prefer using my hand, especially at the beginning, because I can feel how much paint is down. When your paint is wet, the back of the paper will have a cool feel to it. You know it's dry when it warms up to room temperature. I'm not putting a lot of weight down on that. I'm just getting nice, even pressure. And it's still cool. So I'm gonna dry this with my hairdryer. I'll be right back. Okay, let's see how this came out. Had some stick, but as you can see, really did get a nice pull. It's a little darkish. It's a little darkish. My mountains could have been more pronounced. And I can come in with some pins and accent a few things, but you can see that this actually worked out rather nicely.
Let's recap what we've done today. First one is you're going to draw or create your image. Secondly, you're going to label and cut out each of your layers. Third, create your background. And last, you're going to print all of your layers starting with the closest element first and working backwards. If you follow these rules and guidelines, you should have a lot of success creating your artwork with stencils and masks.
Okay, this was very interesting today for me, and I'm hoping that you got something out of this. It was a process. I tried it different ways and ended up doing about 5 polls. There's 3 of them here, plus the one that I did yesterday. I want to thank you very much for being here, and this has been Thursday Training. Up after me is either going to be Johnny Dark Creatorium, or Adrian and Corey of Art's Really Cool. So stick around, see what they come up with. I want to thank you very much again for being here. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and strike the bell, give me a like, and maybe leave a comment. I answer all questions, so I'd appreciate anything you have to ask. Last, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. It helps with the algorithm and helps me grow this channel. So let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.